First of all, shout out to my sister for giving me this cute sweater. It says my name on it and it has a tooth on it. Well, my search for a dental assistant job is over. I don't think I really got into. No, I have. I think I have told you guys I'm going to school for being a dental assistant. Well, I finally did it. I secured a dental assistant job. My first one after going to school, graduating. That was a whole year type thing. I started in January and I finished, well, I got my job in December. So it literally took me a year. And I'm really excited about it because, first of all, the people in my office are just the sweetest people ever. I love them so much. I do want to kind of talk about my journey and what I would have done differently. Because I could have got what I wanted a little bit sooner than rather than later. I decided to go to a college. I'm not gonna say what college though, because if I'm being honest, one of my recommendations would be to go to a shorter program that I did. My program was like 8 months long. I do live in Arizona. I wouldn't recommend that. It's because the way that I learn, and I'm sure a lot of other people learn, is not by reading a whole manual and then memorizing it and taking tests. I really feel like being in the practice and seeing how everything goes down is really the most useful when it comes to dentistry. So I don't know. It just felt like 8 really long months. Sometimes they had us doing like crazy projects. I recommend a shorter program, but I went into my program. It was about 8 months, and then I did my extern. For my program, it was mandatory for me to complete 300 hours of extern. And my tips for extern is just ask a lot of questions. Like sometimes I'll be like, okay, and I do this and do this, and you're gonna be like, okay, I know I have to do that and do that, but like why? Well, what does this thing do? You know what I mean? And don't be afraid to ask, because I mean that's essentially what you're there for. I do think extern is like one of those things that if they send you to a bad site, like it's not your fault if you don't do great. One of my friends from my extern site says she was at a really bad site where her doctor like yelled at her and she was like crying every day. And yes, it can get really stressful because you want to be good, one, you want to be useful and helpful. I mean, that's what you're there to do, is to assist the dentist. But like at the same time, if you're new and they know you're new, they know you're straight out of school, they're not going to expect you to know everything. And if they do, that's a bad doctor. And that's another thing I was talking to my mom about, because I don't know, in school, a lot of my teachers were ex dental assistants, so they were kind of like preparing us for like the abuse that dentists could possibly do to us. For an example, I've heard like a lot of stories about instruments being thrown when they're frustrated or like being yelled at. And I say to that, let's not tolerate that. At the end of the day, the doctors can't get anything done without the dental assistants. We're just as important as anybody else on the team. And I think that we as dental assistants need to stand up and not take the abuse. No, but for real, I don't think dental assistants should take that abuse. I think that we really do need to stand on our ground, like, hey, treat me like that and I'm out of here. Whatever office you end up externing in is really going to make or break you, but don't let it break you. Step in, try to, when the doctor is asking the other assistant for help to grab an instrument, how about instead of letting that other assistant do it and you're like, hey, I got it, let me go get it, and then go get it. You know what I mean? That's a lot of the things that I would do. And I actually grew a really good relationship with my extern office. Unfortunately, they couldn't take me in though because they had just hired another person who was extern there. And so they just didn't have the space for me. But they said if they could, they would. And they were so sweet to me. And I am just really grateful for the experience. And I do think that everything happens for a reason. I just wasn't meant to be there. I was meant to go somewhere else. And I truly did believe that. And that's what kind of kept my head up, because it is really defeating. So when I didn't get my extern side to hire me, I was really hard on myself because I'm like, man, like, why don't y'all make room for me? But I do think everything happens for a reason. I don't think I would have been getting paid as much as I am getting paid now. After extern, I did my 300 hours. I was pretty confident in like fills, a little bit of root canals, because root canals is just a lot of suctioning and then like wiping the files, and you do have to take like an x-ray during that, and that is what always got me. But luckily when I was externing, there was always someone to help me out. And that's another thing, like when you dental assist, like the other assistants are always willing to help. Well, from my experience, if they're a little bit older and a little stuck in their own ways, maybe not. I say when you're on your extern, my tips are ask what everything does, Don't be afraid to ask for help. Try to step in as much as you can. And then, even if you're not completely sure, like maybe ask just one of the assistants to sit beside you while you assist to help you. At the end of the day, I'm not working there. I'm not like an extra employee. I'm someone that they should be training. Yeah. So I finished extern, right? Jobless, and I was just so stressed out. Shortly after my extern, I did go get my X-ray certification from the Danby test site that I had to do. For Arizona specifically, that's the only thing that's really required to be a dental assistant. So if you're from Arizona, that's food for thought. But if you're not from Arizona, maybe you should see what qualifies you. It had been maybe a week of me applying to jobs, people denying me left and right. Because they see that I don't have any experience on my resume, they always went with the person with more experience than me. I'd really recommend doing work interviews if you're feeling comfortable doing it. I feel like what helped me get the job that I got now was a working interview and showing them that I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to help. I want to help. And I do have a loose concept of what needs to be done. And I think that's really what landed me the job that I have now. I was looking for jobs and it was like a weekend and I was like really down on myself because nobody would hire me. It was like 2 weeks in. And so I made friends with this temp DA at my other extern site and we'll just like check in on each other. He was like, let me know where you're interviewing at. I'll let you know if I've ever temped there and let you know if they're a good doctor, how the work environment is there. And I'm like, that's literally so sick. So when you are externing somewhere, make friends with the temps. Ask them for guidance because honestly, they're really knowledgeable. I feel like without my temp friend, I wouldn't have gotten the job that I have today. And let me keep going with that because he had told me to join the temp websites like Princess and Tooth.io and Cloud Dentistry. I think that's it. I think it's just those three. The only thing that I have to say is that if you do Tooth.io, they won't let you temp there. You have to have a required 1 year of DA experience to be able to temp on Tooth.io. But you can put your application on there for a permanent. So they have like the option of permanent work and then temp work. And you could put if you're looking for both and then what days you're available. My application was on Tooth.io. I actually did get an interview from Tooth.io, but the office was too far away and I wasn't willing to make that commute. But if you're looking for a job, even though Tooth.io won't give you temp jobs, I seriously recommend it for permanent jobs. And then for Princess and Cloud Dentistry, Princess is where I've got most of my temp jobs. So I started temping. With zero experience. So scary. I'm not gonna lie, it was terrifying. I mean, I'm already new to the practice, and then to throw me into new offices and try to figure out every day, like it was terrifying. But luckily, I noticed when I was externing and temps would come in, the other DAs kind of treat the temp like a new DA because they know the temps don't know where everything is. The temps don't know how to work the software that you're working on unless they've temped there before and they're familiar with, the software. It's kind of like being on extern, but you're getting paid. And you can set your own wage too. I got paid $23 an hour on Princess, and then some jobs would even offer me $24 an hour, and I'm like, I'll take it. On Cloud Dentistry, I don't know why I set my pay rate to $24 an hour and people would accept me. And I actually met a really nice office from Cloud Dentistry who liked me so much as a temp. They actually just kept asking me to come back without the app. But yeah, I started temping. Temping was terrifying. I would be terrified every day, but would feel so freaking happy getting my check at the end of the day. Sometimes they'll sell you. But every time that I've temped, they've written me a check and I would just go deposit it the next day. So I recommend that heavily. Start temping. And honestly, it's not as bad as you think. And then you get through the day and you're like, I did it. But I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. And did I drop some things? Yeah, I dropped articulating forceps on a patient at one of my temp jobs. It was embarrassing. But luckily, the doctor was really, really sweet. But yeah, when I got this job, I was still temping. And I was kind of happy to be temping, especially because I got familiar with that one office that kept asking me to come back. Then I got my interview, and they were like, "Can you come in tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I came in, and I was so nervous because this office was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. It was so big. They threw me in a procedure on my working interview that I have never done before. I got thrown in there. I was like, "Oh shoot. I don't even know what I'm doing." Honestly, most working interviews are like 4 hours long, but this office wanted me to stay the whole day, and that made me so intimidated. And then it was lunchtime, and the front office manager pulled me aside, and she's like, "The doctor likes you." And I'm like, "Oh, great." And so I was hoping she was going to be like, "You got the job," but then she didn't say anything afterwards. So I'm like, "Okay, well, it's good to know the doctor likes me." She's like, "By the way, I didn't let you know. Could you stay all day?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I could stay all day." But it made me really nervous because I'm like, "Okay, I know the doctor likes me now, but what if by the end of the day he's like, you know what? Never mind." I don't know why he would do that, but I don't know. It was just like an irrational fear of mine. I come back, we finish the day, and at the end of the day, she pulls me aside and she's like, "We want to hire you." And I'm like, "What? That's crazy," because they had told me that they were doing interviews like that whole week. I was just really surprised. I was like, "What? You guys want to hire me?" And she literally gave me a hug. I'm like, "I'm telling you, this office was just so nice." I mean, they're still so nice. And so she gave me a hug. We went out and we talked to the doctor a little bit, and he's like, "You know what? I could tell you how like an idea of what you're doing, and I really like your attitude. And so I'm telling you right now, it really has everything to do with your attitude and nothing to do with how amazing you are at knowing what to do next." Because everyone has questions, everyone gets lost. I've even asked the doctor a question. He was like, "That's a great question." And I was like, "Okay." Always be adaptable to whatever office that you want. However they want things to be done, do it their way. And then two, be a good team player. But also, I forgot to mention this when I talked about how I was temping for a little bit. When I temped at a different office, I only temped there one time. She actually went ahead and asked me like she asked me if I want to do a crown. And I'm only familiar with scanning, and some offices only do impressions. And I was like, "I'm not familiar with that. Is there a way you can do that and then I can do the other one?" And she was like, "Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Like, I just want to know what you want to do." So that's another thing, is just to communicate with the other DAs. Like, let them know when you don't know how to do something, if they're okay with doing it, because they know how it's done, one, and then two, no one wants to put you in a circumstance where you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So she was really cool for that too. So if you don't know how to do something, just let the other DA know, and either they'll take it over for you and then have you do the other patient where you'll know how to do that, or they'll probably just come in, help you out when you need help, and then leave. Then also, you're getting training. It's like free training, but not free because you're getting paid. It's paid training. If you learned anything, or if you have any questions about, new DA shit, let me know. I'm learning. But this is all the advice I have. Go to a short program. Really put yourself out there on your extern. Hopefully you get hired, but if you don't, start temping. Because you are allowed to temp. You can temp. But get your x-ray certification before you start temping, because offices don't want someone who can't take x-rays. That's like a waste of a temp. And then once you put your application and like your information on those other tooth, Princess and Cloud Dentistry, Princess is actually how my office ended up finding me. And I'm not gonna lie, my office application, one of their requirements was to have 5 years of experience. Even if it says that, still apply for it. Only if you have your x-ray certification. Apply for it. Who cares? Sometimes they'll make the exception, and I was that exception. They saw that I didn't have it. I clearly read they wanted an experienced DA, and I still applied. And I got the job. And the worst thing they could do is just ignore your application, look at your application, not be impressed, and not answer you back. Or they could take it a step further and then email you and say you're not picked out of all the applicants, which is like, damn, you should have just left me on Reddit at that point. But still, that's my advice. That was my journey. That was my year. That's what I've been doing this whole year. Oh, also put temping on your resume. But anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to click that like button and click that subscribe button. And I'll see you next time I post. Anyway, bye.